And let's bring our next storyteller. Please keep it going for Jitesh.
Jitesh.
I need to stand because without it I kind of feel naked in front of you guys. That we deserve for the salsa dancing, you and me. When I was leaving India for America, my father, who's a man of few words, had just one advice for me. I already kind of clenched my body up so as to not kind of break into tears before he could even begin talking. He's not the one to dole out advice often, so each one means a lot to me. And I wanted him to say something to me that I could kind of keep with me as a souvenir on the way home, on the way here. So I kind of turned around, I straightened my back, he put his hand on my shoulder and I looked him in the eye and he said, "Son, remember, the Americans, they eat beef. You know eat beef." Then he put me on a 24-hour long flight while I tried to take some spiritual meaning out of that. Growing up in a Hindu household, our teddy bear was a cow. There were numerous pictures of gods mounted on cows, decked in full regalia, all over my little home temple, and even a nursery rhyme-like prayer singing praises of the cow. Except it's a teddy bear you can easily find defecating on the street right outside your window. Every time I would take a walk with my father, and if he would come across one, he would touch the animal on its belly and bring that hand back to his forehead as a display of his devotion. Clearly, the cow was very holy in my house and in my culture. A few years ago, they banned the sale of cow meat where I come from, in the majority of Indian states. Your best bet if you get caught selling cow meat would be to get arrested, because vigilante mobs make sure you don't get to the precinct in a good condition. But I didn't have to think about any of that, because I grew up in a vegetarian household, so I didn't give a shit. And this didn't come under my radar until 2 years ago, when I was here celebrating my wedding anniversary in America with my wife, who's an American, and I must mention from Kansas. A place that you have a better idea of knowing that you have arrived when you smell manure, often in your car. Growing up, one of her favorite dishes was what I pronounced as filet mignon. So, may I remind you again, 2 years ago we were still living under the lockdown, right? So we didn't know how to celebrate, and the year prior also we couldn't celebrate. So my wife was kind of getting frustrated and kind of stir crazy. She's like, no celebration, I'm going to do something. I'm going to plan something crazy. We are not celebrating anymore. And she really saved up, she really planned, and she ordered this takeout meal at home from this very fancy, she said very exclusive place, and I still remember the name. She mentioned Alinea, and true love that you one of those. But part of it was the takeout menu was prefixed, meaning take it or leave it. You have to deserve us, not the other way around. And part of the main course was prime ribs. Now, my wife is sensitive of my dietary habits and knew I had beef with beef. Oh wow, people listen to hip hop here. But she also wanted to celebrate, right? And so she kind of checked in with me, and I was like, and then proceeded a conversation that if it were to be heard by an outsider, would portray her as a lumberjack and me as Little Red fucking Riding Hood. Beef isn't all that bad, you know. You know how many people depend on it for sustenance? But my father. Cooked ribs are the closest thing to an orgasm your palate could ever experience. Let's do it. Alright, at this point I should mention, if anybody in the audience identifies as my father, now is the time to leave. The rest of you are going to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So, The night of the said anniversary, a 5-course dinner arrives, a meal so elaborate, you need a toolbox to assemble it. There were scallops and exotic mushrooms and cheese so pungent you could smell the milk dying. And then came the showstopper. Prime ribs. Wife checked in with me. If you're still uncomfortable, you don't have to go ahead. And I said, shut up, this is my battle. Also, happy anniversary. So I tell a quick prayer under my breath, asking for forgiveness from my father and all of my gods, and I dug in. Now, I use dug in as an expression, but what I really did was toss it around with the fork a few times to make sure it still isn't alive anywhere. It felt like the roast could bite at me at any time. It felt like I could hear it move at me in defiance, which turns out was my wife making sounds as she chewed her meal down. And she saw me, she looked over and she saw me sweating, literally shadow boxing my meal and struggling, so she took it from me and she cut it into bite-sized pieces like I was a fucking baby. And she'd bring it to me and I put my fork down and I bring it close to my face and I eat it. I liked it. It was smoky and tender and herbaceous. And most importantly, it felt like I had swallowed years of religious guilt and family pressure in that one bite, and that was oddly satisfying. So I'd run into my kitchen and bring some barbecue sauce and ketchup and just try this very expensive meal, and I'd chew it without a pause. After the meal, my wife asked me, how do you feel? I told her that if my being a good son or a good member of my community depends on a piece of charred meat, then I no longer aspire to it. But if there is tolerance and acceptance, I'm pretty sure I'll still make the cut. Yeah, that's a pun. I didn't touch beef, to be honest, since, not the least because of religious or family reasons, because of other health and environmental factors, but mostly because the fun was really in the rule breaking. You can only break a rule once. Look out for the NDA, man. Thank you.
Yeah.